What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own transfer plans for the upcoming double game week 36. So the second last double game week of the season and the third last game week of the entire FPL season. Now's the absolute clutch time. Now with every transfer plan, as I always do, I'm going to start off with the review of game week 35 that just concluded yesterday with a massive amount of goals. However, they weren't that important for our own FPL team, so I'll be mainly talking about Saturday and then also Sunday. Now after that transfer plan, I'll give you guys the context of how the current team is looking without any transfers made, but we still do have 2 free transfers to probably use for this upcoming game week. Then at the end of the video, I'll be going over my transfer plan with those 2 free transfers, and unfortunately because of some injury concerns, I'm probably going to have to use both of them. So that's something I was interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So going over the game week 35 team review, only a single game week with all these upcoming doubles coming up, and unfortunately it wasn't that great of a game week for my own FPL team. You guys can see that bottom right hand side, the red indicates a red arrow unfortunately, and that was actually going to be a small red arrow of about 5k places. Now small red arrow, so pretty good game week to have a bad game week, but it's the kind of meaning of that red arrow that took us just outside the top 100k. So last game week 34, the first game week this season within the top 100k, so to be put outside of it once again is a little bit disheartening. But don't worry, with 2 free transfers left, hopefully that's enough firepower to propel us back into that 5-digit range. Now in terms of the overall points, 35 points, that was kind of around the average. You guys probably scored more than me, but I have seen some managers on about 20 points, but as I mentioned, a good week to have a bad week. So let me know in the comments down below, what was your overall points for game week 35? Were you currently sitting in the overall ranks? Was it a green arrow? Was it a red arrow? Always like to see how you guys are keeping up in the FPL season. Now most importantly, to this transfer plan, bottom right hand side, yet again, 2 free transfers and 0.1 million left in the bank. So not a lot to kind of deal with in terms of money, but with 2 free transfers, we can make a downgrade and an upgrade. But I'll be talking about that later on, so let's go on to my bench for the time being. So on the bench, we have Kepa, Shaw, Botman, and Greenwood. We'll go over Kepa in a little bit, but Luke Shaw, Botman, and Greenwood. There's a little bit of a benching dilemma there, especially with Luke Shaw. Should I play Luke Shaw? Should I go with someone else? Decided to go with Kieran Trippier over him. Both ended up blanking, but Luke Shaw got 2 points. Now overall, that United game wasn't the best, not only from a defensive point of view, but also from an attacking point of view. And I'll talk about those attackers a little bit later on as well. Then in terms of Botman, Greenwood, always going to be on my bench. So kind of Luke Shaw versus Trippier was the only benching dilemma this week. Now talking about Kepa, let's bring in our goalkeeper of choice, Edison. So once again, Edison is underperforming Kepa. Kepa outperformed him 3 points versus 2. So simply I'm benching the wrong keepers at the moment. Now in terms of Edison though, what kind of happens as always with Man City, they concede basically 1 shot on target. But to be fair, Leeds played a lot better in that second half. So there were some concerns about Edison potentially losing that starting position. That wasn't the case, it was a rest. But him coming back into the squad actually was a negative because he could have had Kepa off the bench. So don't you know what to do at the current moment with Edison simply not really performing his XG. You'll see in the ultimate guide coming up tomorrow, Man City's XG over the entire season since the restart, since the last 6 games is simply outstanding, but he simply isn't getting the saves and also those clean sheets. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I guess we're always going to keep him with the upcoming Man City double into 37. But you guys can leave in the comments down below, do you guys also own Edison? I probably told you to buy him a couple of game weeks ago, maybe even for a hit, and that was definitely going to be a mistake. Luckily though, most of the other popular goalkeeper options didn't keep clean sheets as well, so at least Edison was pretty average. Now moving into our backline department, nice to have Trent back into my squad, one of the better performing players in game week 35, a nice clean sheet and also a bonus point. Now Trent's new position in that midfield department is working wonders for him as an FPL asset and just in terms of general football, as he looks absolutely outstanding. So super happy that I went with him, better than kind of a Robertson, better than a Van Dijk. Let's just hope that he continues the defensive returns and also gets 1 or 2 attacking returns in upcoming game weeks. Then moving on to the benching dilemma of this week, it was Luke Shaw versus Trippier, opted for the latter option in my starting 11, and the reason for that was his kind of ceiling. When I talk about ceiling, I mean the kind of potential points that an option could get. I thought that Trippier was a lot more attacking than Luke Shaw. Yes, maybe Luke Shaw had a better chance of a clean sheet, but Trippier could have hauled more, and that's why I went for him. Now you guys know what happened at the end of the day. Arsenal played better than Newcastle, ended up scoring 2 goals, and that's why Kieran Trippier only has 1 point. But what I will add is that Trippier did have a couple of chances created. There was one chance for Fabian Schär where he missed kind of a near header that definitely should have been an assist. So the logic was there, but unfortunately the points were, and that's how FPL is at the current moment. The last option to go over is going to be a stupid one. Now if you guys were to tell me that Brighton would lose 5-1 to Everton, I would have probably asked you what you on, as yesterday's game was simply mental. Now Stupinan did get forward okay, but I mean conceding 5 goals, that's the reason he's on 0 points. So yes, he actually did play the fixture, but he just conceded so much that he got 0 points. Now was this kind of a freak result for Brighton? I do believe so, and I do think they'll rebound in the upcoming game weeks. So overall, the defensive department was carried by Trent Alexander-Arnold like usual, getting kind of flashbacks to the previous FPL seasons, and that's going to continue into midfield department. So let's start off with the kind of duo that definitely didn't get us the points. It's the United assets, Bruno and also Rashford. Now, as I mentioned with Luke Shaw, wasn't the best kind of United performance against West Ham. Overall, didn't offer that much from an attacking point of view. Did have a few chances going forward, but unfortunately Bruno and Rashford both blanked. Now, these two assets, especially Bruno, was a massive differential going into the upcoming game week, so I had high hopes for them. West Ham aren't in the best of form at the moment, and United definitely needed a win for that top 4 race. But it wasn't meant to be at the end of the day, and that Bruno blank especially hurt. Then our two Brighton assets, we've got Matoma and Solly March. Let's start off with Matoma, got a lucky assist towards the end of the game in that Everton loss. I'll take it though as a Matoma owner, but because it was to McAllister, probably would have preferred Matoma not to get any points. So if you guys don't know what happened, Matoma at the far post gets onto the ball, ricochets off the post, hits McAllister as he's falling down and goes into the net. So if you guys did own Matoma and McAllister, would have been an absolute dreamland, but as I own March, was pretty bad for me. So not only did McAllister score, let's go over Solly March. What happens with him, the story of the game week. He's benched at the start of that Brighton game. Don't really know what the reason was for. Some people have said fitness, some people have said that he isn't in the best of form at the moment. Comes on at half time though, as Everton are beating them quite convincingly. Looks really strong, looks like almost the best option on that pitch for Brighton. Then loses the ball with the bad pass, pulls his hammy it seems on the track back, and therefore only ends up on 1 point. So the 1 point was enough, but the fact that he might be injured for the upcoming game weeks, maybe even for the season, that's going to be another transfer that we have to use. So very unfortunate game week for Solly March. Hopefully he does recover from that injury pretty soon, but he'll be leaving my FPL team probably. So in terms of the midfield department, definitely not the best performance from these assets, but at least Mo Salah ended up getting 10 points. So nice double-digit return from the king of FPL, the Egyptian king Mo Salah, and it's really a flashback that the Liverpool assets in my team are finally producing the goods. Now Liverpool ended up getting quite a strange goal, but Mo Salah is going to take it at the end of the day, and so will I as an FPL owner. Now Salah also got a few bonus points to his name, which is always nice to see, as he has the reputation of getting goals but not getting bonus points. Now if you guys did go for the Mo Salah captain, well done on that front, because he definitely was the best option this week. Now moving into our forward department, our captain this week was going to be Erling Haaland, and I do think I got a little bit unlucky as a Haaland captainer. But the first things first is the effective ownership of Erling Haaland was I think around 196%, so any gains off his points would have been at a minimum, so his points don't really matter at the end of the day. But if you guys did see the fixture, at least go look at the stats. Erling Haaland I think missed 3 big chances, and definitely could have come away from that game with a haul. He also gave the penalty to Gundogan for his hat-trick. Gundogan ended up missing it, and I'm pretty sure Erling Haaland would have converted it. But as I said, his points are marginal in terms of rank gains, but if you guys did go for Mo Salah, you'll be absolutely smiling. Then our final option of the week was also quite a big disappointment for myself, Ollie Watkins. I managed to keep hold of him. I could have gone for Alvarez, could have gone for someone like an Isaac or a Callum Wilson. Decided to keep the faith, but unfortunately Aston Villa have now blanked in the past 2 games. He also got a yellow card for a foul in the second half, so he only ends on 1 point. Now unfortunately Ollie Watkins will probably be on the way out in the upcoming game week, but now watch, Aston Villa are suddenly going to improve. So as you guys can see, relatively kind of low performance. You guys would expect that with 35 points overall. Luckily though, Trent, Salah kind of saving our game week. Hopefully they did the same for you, or you had some other differentials that got you a green arrow. Comment that down below. How many points did you guys end on for game week 35 and where you're currently sitting with the overall ranks? Now before we go into the actual transfer plan, I always like to give you guys some context of my current starting 11 and my bench to show you guys what I'm currently dealing with. Now bottom right hand side though, 2 free transfers and 0.1 million left in the bank, and you're probably going to have to use both those transfers. So let's start off with our bench, and the benching debate this week is super hectic. What I've done to make things a little bit easier is I put all my double game week players in my starting 11, and then come the team selection, we can talk about some potential rotation. So right now on my bench, I've got Kepa against Nottingham Forest, Trent against Leicester away, Luke Shaw against Wolves at home, and Greenwood against Newcastle at home. So in terms of Trent and Luke Shaw, definitely would prefer to start Trent over Luke Shaw. You guys know his attacking threat isn't that much at centre back, but against Wolves, a side that aren't great from an attacking point of view, this could be a locked-in clean sheet for the United side. But Trent's definitely the one that I am going to be missing out on. Yes, Leicester could definitely score against them. We saw yesterday they scored 3 goals, but I just trust Liverpool at the moment in terms of the defence. So when we do go over our defensive department, I will offer some suggestions on who to bench if you guys do want to play Trent, but right now he's going to be there. Now talking about our goalkeepers, let's go over Ederson and Kepa, and you guys know what this means. Kepa definitely going to keep a clean sheet and get a penalty save versus Ederson, who's going to lose the clean sheet probably with 1 shot. But I do still believe that Man City defense is better than the Chelsea one. Yes, Kepa might be a better goalkeeper at the moment than Ederson, but I think with Everton winning against Brighton, yes, a great result there, but to me they should be safe from the relegation battle. Now Man City are still in the title race, definitely going to put up a good performance, so that's why I'll still be going for Ederson. In terms of our defensive department, the double up with the Newcastle defenders, Botman and Trippier leads away Brighton at home. I do think that Newcastle could keep a clean sheet in one of these games, probably the first one against that Leeds side. Now definitely in terms of Botman versus Trent, there might be a debate there to go for, but I still do think that Botman could keep a clean sheet in the first game, and that's why I'll be going for him. Now in terms of Kieran Trippier, you guys know, could even be a Campsy option if you guys don't own a Newcastle attacker, as he's still producing some good attacking stats. Now the option that I might potentially bench for Trent is going to be a Stupinan from Brighton, Arsenal away, Newcastle away. Not great defensive games for a Stupinan, and to be honest, he hasn't been getting the most attacking threat in the world. So currently my debate is a Stupinan versus Trent. I think I might be leaning towards Trent at the current moment, but that just might be that Leicester bias. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you guys playing Trent, and would you play Trent over Botman or a Stupinan? Now moving into midfield department, the two United midfielders hopefully return us some points this week. Wolves at home though, good fixture on paper, and United do have to bounce back in this top 4 race. So Bruno will be differential, Rashford still quite highly owned, so any points from Bruno would be highly appreciated. Now I'm going to split the Brighton mids up first. Let's go over Matoma. I put the Campsy armband on Matoma currently because he is the only double game week kind of attacker that I trust. Now Arsenal, Newcastle, 2 games that I think might be quite tight from a defensive point of view, but Brighton's attack is still pretty strong, just ignore game week 35. Now I do think Matoma should get 2 starts, especially with Solly March being injured at the current moment. So if you guys do want to go for a Brighton Campsy, it's him or McAllister. Now talking about Solly March, let's go over him. So currently don't have any news about that injury. It looks like a hamstring strain. Could that be 2 weeks? Could that be even longer? Who kind of knows? But it does look like he's going to miss game week 36. So unfortunately with Solly March, probably going to be a transfer out because of the double game weeks coming up. Just remember that Brighton have 2 doubles over the next 2 game weeks. Then moving on to Salah, I do have high hopes on Mo Salah. Could even be a Campsy option if you guys do want to go for a single game week player, because Leicester at the current moment are simply terrible. So let's see what happens. Must win game for Liverpool, must win game for Leicester. I currently favour Liverpool at the moment, as Leicester on the relegation battle. So Salah, great game for him to be honest, and I think he could provide the goods. Now moving into our forward department, Erling Haaland against Everton away. Now this is kind of squeezed between 2 Champions League games. There might be some rotation, there might not, but I guess we aren't captaining him anyways. So everyone kind of owns Erling Haaland, so nothing much more to talk about him, but he'll definitely be in my starting 11. Now the final option, Ollie Watkins against Spurs at home. Now Spurs aren't defending that well at the current moment, and Aston Villa aren't scoring goals, but still feel like Ollie Watkins could potentially do quite well here. But unfortunately, probably be on the way out, which I'll talk about shortly, for another Campsy option. So in terms of the current starting 11, there are some concerns here. We don't have a triple up with those Newcastle players, obviously have a nice double coming up with that Leeds game first, and then with the Solly March injury, we are kind of forced to use a second transfer. Now what we could actually do is we could bench Solly March, play Trent or play Luke Shaw. That could be a strategy to go for if you guys don't want to spend the additional transfer. But currently, because we have 2, I think I might end up using both. But let me know your thoughts on my team in the comments down below. Would you guys bench Solly March for Trent or Shaw? And in terms of my defense, who's your back 3 of choice? Otherwise, you can comment down below what your transfer plans are for the upcoming game week and any problems you guys are facing. But going on to the transfer plan for the upcoming game week, and I think the first dilemma currently is picking another Newcastle option to go for. That probably will be our captain for the upcoming game week. Now please take note that Newcastle's game is the first game of the game week, and therefore we might get some early team use, which will be quite helpful. But the current 2 forward options you guys can look at is Isaac or Wilson, and you guys can see their ownership from last game week within the top 100k. So definitely Isaac's a safer option to go for, has the higher ownership, whereas Callum Wilson's the nice differential. Now there's a massive debate between these 2, and I'll be going over it in a little bit more in depth in the ultimate guide tomorrow, so make sure that you guys watch out for that video. But the current thinking is that Isaac has the better expected minutes, whereas Callum Wilson might be the better option if they do play a similar amount. Now the one thing I do want to note is that the game week coming up for Newcastle in 37 is a nice fixture, so you might actually want to go for Isaac because he might start that one. Now please also take note that Newcastle do obviously play the first game on Saturday, then the second game in double game week 36 is on Thursday, and that might be enough rest for Wilson with his current injury concerns. It's a very hard debate to kind of go for, but currently I do think I'm slightly edging towards Isaac, and that's because he might play in game week 37 and both games in 36. But you guys can comment down below, as I mentioned in the ultimate guide tomorrow, going to go over this in more in depth, and maybe then my mind will change. So going back to the transfer that will entail, it's going to be Ollie Watkins out. Then for Isaac, this could be Callum Wilson. If we do get early team use that Callum Wilson starts against Leeds, I might change to go for him, but whoever I bring in will be my captain. So this transfer is almost locked in. I've locked it in for a couple of game weeks now. So the only thing that might change it is if Isaac or Wilson both get injured. Now go on to the second transfer, and as mentioned with Solly March's injury, it makes sense to probably take him out, especially if he's going to miss the next game week as well, as Brighton have 2 doubles in the next 2 game weeks. So Solly March out, his replacement will probably be another Brighton asset. Right now, because I don't own McAllister, it's probably going to be him, and that's a slight upgrade. Now in terms of the games coming up, not the best kind of games in the world, but it is 2 double game weeks. Now if you guys do want to go for another asset, you could also look at a potential other Brighton option. There are a few kind of differentials that are currently priced cheaper, but I think if you guys don't own McAllister and you have enough money, I would go for him. Now I don't necessarily have to do this transfer. As I mentioned, I could start Trent, I could start Luke Shaw, but I do think if Solly March misses this game week, he probably will miss game week 37 as well. So these two transfers definitely look quite likely. I don't have the most money in the bank currently. I think I can make these moves with 0.2 as of recording this video today. It's not the most money to play around with those price rises. But I'm pretty comfortable with these two moves, and you guys can let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. They might be a little bit sideways, might not be the most differential, but I do think they'll be worth it over the next few game weeks. But this is basically wrap for the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please like if you didn't subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys with the ultimate guide tomorrow and the team selection coming up on Thursday, and our two transfers might even be locked in by then. But I'm going to sign off. It's Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.